Okay, so today I am going to read Why Bitcoin Matters. This is an article by Marc Andressen. If you haven't heard Marc Andressen, he is basically the inventor of Netscape, which is a browser. And now he's a VC at the in Silicon Valley. So okay, editor's note: Marc Andreessen venture capital firm has invested just under 50 million in Bitcoin-related startups. The firm is actively searching for more Bitcoin-based investment opportunity. Oh, this article, by the way, is 2014, right? At that time, what Bitcoin? Let's see. I think it's like $300. Um, let's see, 2014, it was. Oh my gosh, it's below $300. Yeah, below $300. Let's see. Bitcoin price. How do you get the one? This one? All. It's 2014. Whoa, it is. But yeah, 300, $500. This is the range. Now we're over here, right? Since then it's already like now it's about 9,000, right? So it's 300, what? 33x already. Okay, where is the? Okay, so a mysterious new technology emerges seemingly out of nowhere, but actually the result of two decades of intense research and development by nearly anonymous researchers. Political idealists project visions of liberation and revolution onto it. Establishment elites heap contempt and scorn on it. On the other hand, technologist nerds are transfixed by it. They see within it an enormous potential and spend their nights and weekend tinkering with it. Eventually, mainstream products, companies, and industry emerge to commercialize it. Its effects become profound, and later many people wonder why its powerful promise wasn't more obvious from the start. What technology am I talking about? It's personal computers in 1975, the internet 1993, and I believe Bitcoin in 2014. Well, actually, Bitcoin was invented in 2009, I believe, right? Anyway, but this article is 2014. One can hardly accuse Bitcoin of being an uncovered topic, yet the gulf between what the press and many regular people believe Bitcoin is, and what a growing critical mass of technologists believe Bitcoin is, remains enormous. In this post, I will explain why Bitcoin has so many Silicon Valley programmers and entrepreneurs are lathered up, and what I think Bitcoin's future potential is. Even the people in Silicon Valley who are well known for their being so techy and nerdy, it's just in front of the computer the whole time and tinkering and doing all innovations like Google, Apple, they're all based on Silicon Valley, right? Um, they don't believe, many of them, from what I understand from this essays, Mark Anderson essays, they don't believe that Bitcoin has is something, right? Um, First, Bitcoin at its most fundamental level is a breakthrough in computer science, one that builds on 20 years of research into cryptographic currency and 40 years of research in cryptography, right? So it's not just like you know, just like out of nowhere and then just emerges, right? Bitcoin is like, if you go back, it's like based on 40 years of research in cryptography. If you follow my channel, I have just discussed under Bitcoin about cryptographic hash function. What is cryptographic hash function? Although I haven't really totally finished it, but it's like halfway there. And I explain what is cryptographic hash function is basically, and that is basically the fundamental, like the engine why Bitcoin is works, right? So anyway, by thousands of researchers around the world, right? So it's not just based on nothing. It's based on 20 years of research in cryptographic currency and 40 years of research in cryptography. Bitcoin is the first practical solution to a long-standing problem in computer science called Byzantine Generals Problem, or BGP. To quote the original paper defining the BGP, imagine a group of generals of the Byzantine army camp with their troops, right? So imagine you're part of the army, and then you go inside the woods, right? And then you have not just one general, but there are several generals. Let's say 10 generals, right? And then the troops is like, I don't know, 1,000 or 10,000 troops, right? And then you're camping there, and then you're camping around an enemy city, communicating only by messenger. So the general must agree upon a common battle plan, right? However, one or more of them may be traitors. So one or more of the generals may be traitors who will try to confuse the others. The problem is to find an algorithm to ensure that the loyal generals will reach agreement. So you are part of the army, you're part of the troops, and then you're camping, you are surrounding an enemy city, you are trying to attack the city, right? Imagine probably there's like 10 different troops with each of the troop has a general, and then they are trying to communicate to synchronize their communication. Okay, when is the best time to like attack the city, right? Because there are 10 troops or 10 groups with 10 different generals. But the trick is not everybody is on the same page. One or more of the general could be maybe traitors who will try to confuse you, who will also probably try to leak the message uh, to the enemy because they're like a spy, right? So if the general say, okay, why don't we attack like at 3 a.m. in the morning because everybody's sleeping, and then one of the general or two of the general, because they belong to the enemy and they're a spy, they will send that message to the enemy, and then the enemy will get ready by 3 o'clock. So when they attack, they're ready, and then they just like kill all of them, right? So so now what to do with that problem? So how do we find an algorithm to ensure that the loyal general, the generals that doesn't belong to a spy, will reach an agreement, right? More generally, the BGP poses the questions of how to establish trust between otherwise unrelated parties over an untrusted network like the internet. The practical consequences of solving this problem is that Bitcoin give us, for the first time, a way for one internet user to transfer a unique piece of digital property to another internet users. So it's for the first time, again, a way for one internet user to transfer a unique piece of digital property to another internet users, such that the transfer is guaranteed to be safe and secure. Everyone knows that the transfer has taken place, and nobody can challenge the legitimacy of the transfer. So if one party is, you remember there are several troops, and one of the troops want to send something, it's information that's valuable. Um, s- so this Bitcoin algorithm is a guaranteed that that transfer is going to be safe and secure, and every troops in that belongs in their vicinity, including the enemy, knows that the transfer has taken place and nobody can challenge the legitimacy of the transfer. The consequences of this breakthrough are hard to overstate. What kind of digital property might be transferred in this way? Think about digital signatures, digital contracts, digital keys. to physical locks or to online lockers. Digital ownership of physical assets such as cars, houses, digital stocks and bonds, and digital money. All these are exchanged through a distributed network of trust that does not require or rely upon a central intermediary, like a bank or broker. Right. This is also the key thing. So you don't need a central intermediary. You can send it directly to the person or to the party that you are interested to communicate with. Right. All in a way where only the owner of an asset can send it. So only the intended recipient can receive it. The asset can only exist in one place at a time. And everyone can validate the transactions and ownership of all assets anytime they want. How does this work? So this is here comes the Bitcoin algorithm, or right, which is basically uh, distributed ledger. Okay, so Bitcoin is an internet distributed wide distributed ledger. You buy into the ledger by purchasing one of a fixed number of slots, either with cash or selling a product or service for Bitcoin, right? So how do you buy? So you buy into the ledger by purchasing one of a fixed number of slots. So imagine if your ledger, ledger is basically it's like a it's like a record of bookkeeping, right? So you buy into the record of the bookkeeping by purchasing one of a fixed number of slots. So there's many slots, right? There's many like transactions happening inside that ledger, inside that bookkeeping. And if you want to buy one slot, one transaction, you have to use cash or you can sell yourself to the devil. No, I'm just kidding. You can sell a product or service for Bitcoin. So you can work probably, I don't know, as a computer programmer, and then you can always only accept Bitcoin. You can sell marijuana, for example, open a store, and then you can receive Bitcoin, right? You can become a porn movie star, and then you can only accept Bitcoin, and so on and so forth, right? Okay, so you sell out of the ledger by trading your Bitcoin through to someone else who wants to buy into the ledger. So you sell out of the ledger by trading your Bitcoin to someone else who wants to buy into the ledger. Okay, so you can transact it. You can, if you already have the Bitcoin, you can basically sell out that ledger, um, the right to sorry, but you because you already purchased a fixed number of slots, right? So which is a ledger, and then you can um, anyone in the world can buy into or sell out of the ledger anytime they want, with no approval needed. Because remember, there is no third party, and with no or very low fees, right? The Bitcoin coins themselves is a coin in quote because this is not actually a physical coin. This is just like a software. It's like a code that lives inside the computer, inside the server, right? So it's not really a physical point like the one that we see every day. So the Bitcoin coins themselves are simply slots in the ledger. Okay, a slot in the ledger means is a transaction. Remember, a ledger is basically a transaction of who owns what. So let's say Danny owns one Bitcoin to Susan. Susan owns zero point 0.1 Bitcoin to John. John owns zero point 0.5 Bitcoin to uh, Jimmy, and so on, right? So um, analogous in some ways to seats on a stock exchange, except much more broadly applicable to real-world transactions. The Bitcoin ledger is a new kind of payment system. Anyone in the world can pay anyone else in the world any amount of value of Bitcoin by simply transferring ownership of the corresponding slot in the ledger. Put value in, transfer it, the recipient gets value out, no authorization required, and in many cases, no fees. So you put the value in by buying the Bitcoin, by buying the slot in the ledger. You can transfer that slot in the ledger to somebody else. the recipient will get the value, the recipient will get the slot in the ledger, um, and no authorization required because there's no middleman, there's no centralized body like we if you have US dollar, if you want to send it to, for example, I want to send from US dollar from here to my family, whatever, or somebody who's in Singapore, for example, right? So the bank has to authorize that, right? Has to check, has to clear. That's why it takes like days to basically to clear the transaction for out of the country. Even for inside the country, there's a bank who also has to clear that, right? If I use over here, let's say Huntington or Chase or Wells Fargo, and Wells Fargo has to clear that transaction, right? There is a somebody in the middle whom we can trust, right? That doing that book record keeping. In Bitcoin, this somebody in the middle is kind of obliterated. Psh, there's nobody in the middle. It's like if you think about the network hub and spoke, the hub is like in the middle and the spoke is on the edges. There's no hub. It's everybody is like a spoke and communicating directly from spoke to spoke, kind of, right? Um, so um, the last part is enormously important. Bitcoin is the first internet-wide payment system where transactions either happen with no fees or very low fees, down to fractions of pennies. Existing payment system charge fees of about 2 to 3%. Okay, and that's in the developed world. In lots of other places, there either are no modern payment system or the rates are significantly higher. We'll come back to that. Bitcoin is a digital bearer instrument. It is a way to exchange money or assets between parties with no pre-existing trust. So you don't have to trust anybody, kind of, right? Because the math, the algorithm, we can remember we talked about cryptographic hash function. That's part of the puzzle that make Bitcoin works, and that's it's math. And then there's another kind of math, digital signatures, right? And that one is like the substitute of trust. So instead of trusting a person or a party that can abuse the trust, we can just trust an algorithm. We can just trust a mathematical function, right? Mathematical function doesn't have a emotion, right? A person or a company or a party, they have emotions. Um, Power corrupts. There's a saying about that, right? So let's leave it to that. A string of number is sent over email or text message in the simplest case. So a string of numbers is sent over email or text message in the simplest case. The sender doesn't need to know or trust the receiver or vice versa. Related, there are no chargebacks. This is part that is literally like cash. If you have the money or the asset, you can pay with it. If you don't, you cannot. This is brand new. This has never existed in digital form before. So if you have the money or the asset, you can pay with it. If you don't, you can, of course, right? There are no chargeback like the bank. If you like pay somebody and then you don't have that amount, then there's a chargeback. Or if the person, like for example, like uh, um, doesn't want to receive it, like I think there's like some kind of fee that the bank will charge you, right? In Bitcoin, there is no such thing. So okay, Bitcoin is digital currency whose value is based directly on two things: use of the payment system today, volume and velocity of payments running through the ledger, and speculation on future use of payment system. This is one part that is confusing people. It is not as much that the Bitcoin currency has some arbitrary value, then people are trading with it. It's more that people can trade with Bitcoin anywhere, everywhere with no fraud and no or very low fees. And as a result, it has value. So again, I'm going to read this again. So Bitcoin is a digital currency or digital money whose value is based directly on two things. One is use of the payment system today. So now Bitcoin is about $9,000, almost 10,000, right? We're talking about now is February like 2020, February 6th, right? So why is it so valuable? Right? So one, according to Mark, he said, it's the use of the payment system today, volume and velocity of payments running through the ledger. Okay. Speculation on future use of the payment system. This is one part of the that's confusing people. It is not as much that the Bitcoin currency has some arbitrary value, and then people are trading with it. Um, it's more um, than people can trade with Bitcoin anywhere, everywhere, with no intermediary, with no fraud, low fees, and that it makes it why it's valuable. It's not because Bitcoin has some arbitrary value first. Remember, okay, this is like cause and effect. Which one is the cause? Which one is the effect? Right? So according to Marc Andressen, many people confuse with this cause and effect. Now, Bitcoin is $10,000 right now, right? It used to be 300 or 500, what have you, right? Why is it 10,000? Why is it so valuable? Okay, so we're trying to so the effect is the 10,000, right? Why is it 10,000? So what is the cost? Many people think, and Mark Anderson think is this is the wrong way of thinking. Thinks because Bitcoin has some arbitrary value, let's say $600, and then people are trading with it. Um, and then but actually that's a wrong way of thinking. It's more because people can trade with the Bitcoin, right? Peer to peer, no intermediary, and you don't have to trust anybody. You don't even have to know that person because um, the mathematics, the cryptographic hash function is going to guarantee that. The system is going to guarantee that, right? So instead of trusting a person, you're trusting or a party, a company, you're trusting math, basically. So no fraud, low fees, directly. The government cannot stop it. And because of that, now it's $10,000, right? So think about that for a second. So this is the thing that many people got confused. What is money, right? If you think about it, money is something that you like, yeah, that you believe has value, basically, right? So um, U.S. dollar used to be backed by gold until 1970s, and then the U.S. government suddenly decided, okay, we debased the currency. We decided not to back it up with nothing. So right now, the U.S. government or the central bank can just, or I don't know who print the money, but the U.S. government as a whole, I'm talking about, just just printing the money, right, as they wish, kind of, right? Um, but here in Bitcoin, first of all, this is already like going into the policy of Bitcoin. They are just gonna print 21 million of Bitcoin, right? And that's kind of right now the agreement among the Bitcoin community, right? And so people use Bitcoin and because they think it's so valuable because they can just remember, okay, that money is like you own that, right? We own this. We work hard, right? We have the money from the salary, right? But it turns out we don't really own it because when we go outside, right, for example, or abroad, the government will restrict it. Right? You cannot, let's say, bring more money than 10,000 or $5,000, right? You cannot transfer money to a specific country, for example, like US. I think you cannot transfer money to like some like a country like probably North Korea or even like Cuba. I'm not sure, but I'm sure there's specific countries that U.S. has no trade relation at all. So therefore, you cannot even send money there. So it's kind of weird because you own the money, but you cannot do as you wish. You are in the mercy kind of government, right? Because government's supposed to be has the final say of what you are going to do with the money. So that's why this Bitcoin is so valuable because now, for the first time, people can just send money to anywhere, everywhere, um, um, without no restrictions, and you don't have to trust a third party, right? And the cost is kind of low, right? With no fraud, and that's is very valuable, I think, according to this article too, which I agree. So moving on, it is perhaps true right at this moment that the value of Bitcoin currency is based more on speculation than actual payment volume. But it is equally true that the speculation is establishing a sufficiently high price for the currency that payments have become practically possible. So he's trying to admit probably okay, true is that some the value of the Bitcoin is like a bubble right now because many people are just speculating, right? Bec- Uh, rather than the actual usage of the Bitcoin, right? The actual payment volume. But it is also equally true that speculation is establishing a sufficiently high price for the currency that payments have become practically possible. But it's also true that the speculation is establishing a sufficiently high price for the currency that payments have become practically possible. The Bitcoin currency had to be worth something before it could bear any amount of real world payment volume. This is the classic chicken and egg problem with new technology. New technology is not worth much until it's worth a lot. And so the fact that Bitcoin has risen in value in part because of speculation is making the reality of its usefulness arrive much faster than it would have otherwise. Crisis critics of Bitcoin point to limited usage by ordinary consumers and merchants. Um, but that same criticism was leveled against PC um, and the internet at the same stage. So if you remember the history of PC and the history of internet, then the first like introduced, not many people were using it. It's like a very niche kind of community, only a small number of like nerdy, techie people who are using it. But look at now, right? Everybody has a PC, everybody has a laptop, everybody has a smartphone, everybody's using internet. It's like unthinkable for now people who doesn't use internet or who doesn't use a computing device, right? It's unthinkable unless if you're probably living in a forest or something like that. Um, so every day, more and more consumers and merchants are buying, using, and selling Bitcoin all around the world. The overall numbers are still small. Remember, bear in mind this is 2014, which is 6 years ago, but they are growing quickly. And ease of use for all participants is rapidly increasing as Bitcoin tools and technologies are improved. Remember, it used to be technically challenging to even get on the internet. Now it's not. The criticism that merchants will not accept Bitcoin because of its volatility is also incorrect. Bitcoin can be used entirely as a payment system. Merchants do not need to hold any Bitcoin currency or be exposed to Bitcoin volatility at any time. So actually, it turns out if a merchant will not accept Bitcoin because of volatility is not correct because as a merchant, you don't have to hold Bitcoin. So you just use Bitcoin as the payment system. So for example, I have and even the buyer who wants to give the money to the merchant. Let's say I'm going to the Gap store. I want to buy a pants and say $10 US, right? So Gap doesn't accept Bitcoin, right? So okay, it's $10 US. So I have $10 US. I'm gonna pay it using my credit card. So that $10 US can be converted into Bitcoin. So there's a third party here. Converted into Bitcoin, I don't know, probably like zero point 0.1 Bitcoin. And then it will transfer it over the Bitcoin network, right? And then the Gap network will receive the um, um, so to speak, uh, uh, not receive the Bitcoin because Gap doesn't accept Bitcoin. And then, but the this so-called the Bitcoin network will transfer it to how do I say it to the nodes that are network with the Gap payment system, right? Transfer at point one, and then because Gap doesn't use accept Bitcoin, so what it does is on that node, the other node that Gap network has relationship, that node will convert back the Bitcoin into US dollars. It's going to convert it into 10, right? Because this happens so quickly, right? So the volatility is kind of like minimized, and the third party who are giving this service, the payment system service using Bitcoin as the backbone, will probably has like a hedge. So um, uh, that to minimize the volatility. Probably there's a waiting time of 10 minutes, but the it will be kind of like minimized by this service provider of the payment system that using Bitcoin, right? So from the gap point of view, there's no risk at all. And then from the other end, then it will convert back to the US dollars, and then we'll give it to gap payment network. So that's how it works, basically. But the whole back end system is kind of transparent from Gap points of view and from the consumer point of view. But basically, it's using the so to speak the Bitcoin payment system network, which doesn't rely on a centralized system, which is like the bank in our world, right? So any consumer or merchant can trade in and out of Bitcoin and other currencies anytime they want. Why would any merchant online or in the real world want to accept Bitcoin as payment, given the currency's small number of consumers who wants to pay with it? My partner Chris Dixon recently gave this example. Let's say you sell electronics online, right? You sell, I don't know, smartphone or TV or whatever you. Profit margins in those businesses are usually under 5%, which means conventional 2.5% payment fees consume half the margin. Right? If you use Visa or Mastercard, there's a 2.5% like fees, right? That's money that could be reinvested in the business, passed back to consumers, or taxed by the government. Of all of those choices, handling 2.5% to banks to move bits around the internet is the worst possible choice, right? Another challenge merchants have with payments is accepting international payment. If you are wondering why your favorite product or service isn't available in your country, the answer is often payment. Okay. In addition, merchants are highly attracted to Bitcoin because it eliminates the risk of credit card for fraud. This is the form of fraud that motivates so many criminals to put so much work into stealing. Oh, I have 11%. I better charge my computer. Sorry. I'll be right back. I have to charge, otherwise, gonna die. Oh, okay. 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 Now it's charged. Save. So, where are we? So in addition, merchants are highly attracted to Bitcoin because it eliminates the risk of credit card for fraud. This is the form of fraud that motivates so many criminals to put so much work into stealing personal computer information and credit card numbers. Um, since Bitcoin is a digital bearer instrument, the receiver of payment does not get any information from the sender that can be used to steal money from the sender in the future, either by that merchant or by a criminal who steals that information from the merchant. Credit card fraud is such a big deal for merchants. Credit card processors and banks that online fraud detection system are hair trigger wired to stop transactions that look even slightly suspicious, whether or not they are actually fraudulent. As a result, many online merchants are forced to turn away 5 to 10% of incoming orders that they could take without fear if the customer were paying with Bitcoin, where such fraud would not be possible. Okay. Since these are orders that are were coming in already, they are inherently the highest margin orders a merchant can get. And so being able to take them will drastically increase many merchants' profit margin. Bitcoin anti-fraud properties often even extend into physical world of retail stores and shoppers. For example, with Bitcoin, the huge hack that recently stole 70 million customer consumer credit card information from the target department store chain could not have been possible. Here's how that works. You fill your card, go to the checkout station like you do now, but instead of handing over your credit card, you pull out your smartphone, take a snapshot of a QR code. QR code is like a barcode, right? It's very prominent in China. From what I heard, if you go to China, you cannot live without WeChat or Alipay. Even the small vendors store there, they're using QR code, which is displayed on their like window or so instead of paying cash or instead of paying credit card, because first of all, credit card is not as established as here in the US. So you just open your smartphone and scan that QR code from the buyer, sorry, from the seller, and then there goes your money is going to be transferred using that QR code. So QR code displayed by the cash register. The QR code contains all the information required for you to send Bitcoin to target, including the amount. So probably it will contain the address of the Bitcoin, the recipient of the Bitcoin. It will contain the name. It will contain the other information that necessarily to transact, right? Um, you click confirm on your phone and the transaction is done. Boom. Including converting dollars from your account into Bitcoin if you did not own any Bitcoin. Target is happy because it has the money in the form of Bitcoin, which it can immediately turn into dollars if it wants, and it paid no or very low payment processing fees. You are happy because there is no way for hackers to steal any of your personal information, and organized crime is unhappy. Well, maybe criminals are still happy. They can try to steal money directly from poorly secured merchant computer system. But even if they succeed, consumers bear no risk of loss, fraud, or identity theft. Finally, I'd like to address the claim made by some critics that Bitcoin is a haven for bad behavior, for criminals and terrorists to transfer money anonymously with impunity. So this is a myth fostered mostly by sensationalistic press coverage and incomplete understanding of the technology. Much like email, which is quite traceable, Bitcoin is pseudonymous, not anonymous. So the difference is pseudonymous is like an alias name. So if my real name is Danny, but instead of I'm using Danny, I'm using a pseudonymous name, probably uh, Bitney or Bit Danny, something like that, right? I'm not using my real name, right? But it's not completely anonymous, and you can trace back the name, the alias name, to the address that you have, and so on, right? Further, every transaction in the Bitcoin network is tracked and locked forever in the Bitcoin blockchain or permanent record. So you can actually see it, the all of the Bitcoin transaction. I will show it to you here. Bitcoin network, um, Bitcoin transaction display. Blockchain.com Explorer. Okay, this one. Yeah. So this is you can see all of the transactions over here. So from today, which is what 15 minutes ago, right? And then this is the miner, the size of the block, right? This is I think the cryptographic hash function, right? So if you click that, you can see um, the time, miners unknown, number of transactions 2,400. The difficulty is okay. Merkle root. The block reward is 12.5 BTC. The fee reward 0.25. Oh, there's a lot. Yeah. So this is yeah, hash. So there's several. So this is like a block. a block has many transactions. So you can see all the transactions here. Like this is the first one, right? And you can see, I think the where does it go? I think this is the address. Where does it go? Um, yeah, so this is the like the sender is this recipient. Okay. So anyway, but it's very transparent. You can see it. Everybody can see it, right? Um, where are we? Okay. And it's permanent. The record is permanent. Okay. Once it's already printed there, it's just there. You cannot undo it. It's except probably if you destroy the internet, kind of, right? So as a result, Bitcoin is considerably easier for law enforcement to trace than cash, gold, or diamonds. So it's actually the myth is not true. It's easier for criminal to use cash because you can just use cash and then government cannot trace you. But if you use Bitcoin, you can, as you can see, you can just go to the website and you can trace like what time, where does it go, and everything, right? Okay, so what's the future of Bitcoin? Bitcoin is a classic network effect, a positive feedback loop, which means the more people joining or owning the Bitcoin or joining into the network of Bitcoin, the more valuable it is because then the more people will hold the Bitcoins and then the more transaction will occur, right? Or the value is going to be more valuable because it's just more people is going to hold it. Just like the network effect of Facebook. If social media has only as if Facebook only has 100 people, probably it's not very valuable, right? Because I can only like see 100 people. But if it's Facebook now has like billions of people, so you can like connect with everybody, kind of, right? So that's very valuable. Just like the internet, right? Internet is very valuable because it connects you to anybody in the whole world, right? As long as they have a Wi-Fi and a laptop, that's it, right? Um, The more people who use Bitcoin, the more valuable Bitcoin is for everyone who uses it, and the higher the incentive for the next user to start using technology. So you can also imagine like the US dollars. The more people use US dollars, the more people own US dollar, the more kind of make US dollar kind of stronger, right? Because then you can transact with practically with a lot of people. Imagine if US dollar just being held by like 1,000 people, then US dollar probably is just going to collapse, kind of, right? Because if I want to transact with that person, I want to buy, for example, a TV or a car or a what have you, right? It turns out that person is not doesn't accept US dollar, so I have to go like change it, whatever system that that person is gonna accept, right? So that's network effect. So Bitcoin share this network effect property with the telephone system, the web, the popular internet services like eBay and Facebook. In fact, Bitcoin is a four-sided network effect. There are four constituencies or four parties that participate in expanding the value of Bitcoin as a consequence of their own self-interested participation. Those constituencies are consumers who pay with Bitcoin. It's number one, right? Um, like me, I have some Bitcoin, but I don't use it for payment. At least I don't remember. I use Ethereum for payment. Yeah, just for playing with the transaction. But for me, Bitcoin, I just want to kind of save it first, so I don't want to spend it now as of now. But I hold it. So that's kind of part of the network effect. Merchants who accept Bitcoin, miners who run the computers that process and validate all the transactions and enable the distributed trust network to exist, and developers and entrepreneurs who are building new products and services with and on top of Bitcoin. All four sides of the network effect are playing a valuable part in expanding the value of the overall system. But the fourth is particularly important. The fourth is developer and entrepreneurs who build product and services. All over Silicon Valley and all around the world, many thousands of programmers are using Bitcoin as a building block for a kaleidoscope of new product and service ideas that were not possible before. And at our capital firm, and there's an always we're seeing rapidly increasing number of outstanding entrepreneurs. Not a few with highly respected track records in the financial industry building not a few with highly respected records. Okay, building up on that way. For this reason alone, new challenges to Bitcoin face a hard uphill battle. If something is to displace Bitcoin now, it will have to have sizable improvement and it will have to happen quickly. Otherwise, this network effect will carry Bitcoin to dominance. One immediately obvious and enormous area for Bitcoin-based innovation is international remittance. So you're saying like it's unlikely at this point, and bear in mind this is 2014, so Bitcoin was 2009 introduced, so that's like uh, s- uh, 5 years, and now we are on the 2020, so another 6 more years. At 2014, 5 years from Bitcoin is already hard because it's already like the network effect is kind of growing and growing. If somebody wants to attack Bitcoin or to introduce a new kind of payment system, that has to be so much better, right? Um, and now, fast forward 6 years from now, we are 2020. Bitcoin still dominate the cryptocurrency sphere. I think Bitcoin is about 60 to 70%, right? And I think Ethereum is like number two, which is like way below. It's about like 10 or 15%, like the market share, right? So, and the other cryptocurrency like Zcash, Cardano, and all that stuff. Um, One immediately obvious and enormous area for Bitcoin-based innovation is international remittance. So when you're sending money to internationally to for me to, for example, I want to send to my friends, to my brother, or to my parents, or to my uncles. Every day hundreds of millions of low-income people go to work in hard jobs in foreign countries to make money to send back to their families in their home countries, over 400 billion in total annually, according to the World Bank. Every day, banks and payment companies extract mind-boggling fees, up to 10% and sometimes even higher, to send this money. Switching to Bitcoin, we charge no or very low fees for this remittance payment, which therefore raise the quality of life of migrant workers and their families significantly. In fact, it is hard to think of any one thing that would have a faster and more positive effect on so many people in the world's poorest countries. So, yeah, it seems to help a lot of people who are kind of disfranchised, right? And I just want to say a couple of things about this. Like in Venezuela right now, that's happening, like the inflation like going like crazy. One of the methods of people to of money, instead of trusting their own government money, I think, which is pesos, I'm not sure, they are trusting Bitcoin and of course US dollars. So yeah, because their own money is kind of like worthless, right? Because the government just keep on printing it, right? Um, okay, so moreover, Bitcoin generally can be a powerful force to bring a much large number of people around the world into the modern economic system. Only about 20 countries around the world have what we would consider to be fully modern banking and payment system, and roughly 175 uh, have a long way to go. As a result, many people in many countries are excluded from products and services that we in the West take for granted. Even Netflix, a completely virtual service, is only available in 40 countries. Um, Bitcoin, as a global payment system anyone can use from anywhere at any time, can be a powerful catalyst to extend the benefits of the modern economic system to virtually everyone on the planet. And even here in the United States, a long recognized problem is the extremely high fees that the unbanked people without conventional bank accounts pay for even basic financial services. Bitcoin can be used to go straight at that problem by making it easy to offer extremely low fee services to people outside of the traditional financial system. A third fascinating use case for Bitcoin is micropayments or ultra small payments like 20 cents, 10 cents, even 1 cent, right? Um, Micropayments have never been feasible despite 20 years of attempt because it is not cost effective to run small payments, think $1 and below, down to pennies or fraction of a penny through the existing credit, debit, and banking system. The fee structure of those systems makes that non-viable. All of a sudden, with Bitcoin, that's trivially easy. Bitcoins have the nifty property of infinite divisibility, currently down to 8 decimal places after the dot, but more in the future. Oh, okay, that's cool. So you can specify an arbitrarily small amount of money, like a thousand of a penny, and send it to anyone in the world for free or near free. Think about content monetization. For example, one reason media businesses such as newspapers struggle to charge for content is because they need to charge either all, pay with the entire subscription fee for all the content, or nothing, which then results in all those terrible banner ads everywhere on the web. All of a sudden, with Bitcoin, there is an economically viable way to charge arbitrarily small amounts of money per article, or per section, or per hour, or per video play, or per archive access, or per news alert. The same thing like if you're listening now or you're watching now on YouTube, right? There's no way I can accept your money like based on one person watching and you give me like 10 cents, right? But instead, uh, I got funded because of the advertisement. But then you have to see the advertisement, which normally people doesn't like, right? But if you want to fund me, I'm doing it this like for free right now, just for like a public announcement. So I'm not receiving anything unless if you watch it and then there's an advertisement there. So but you can like skip it, then I don't get anything, kind of, right? So anyway, so another potential use of Bitcoin micropayment is to fight spam. Future email system and social network could refuse to accept incoming messages unless they were accompanied with tiny amount of Bitcoin. Tiny enough to not matter to the sender, but large enough to deter spammers, who today can send uncounted billions of spam messages for free with impunity. So, so you can't refuse to accept incoming messages unless they were accompanied with tiny amounts of Bitcoin. Cool. Okay. Finally, a fourth interesting use case is public payment. This idea first came to my attention in a news article a few months ago. A random spectator at a televised sports event held up a play card with a QR code and the text, "Send me Bitcoin." Um, he received 25,000 in Bitcoin in the first 24 hours, all from people he had never met. That's so cool. This was the first time in history that you could see someone holding up a sign in person or on TV or in a photo and then send the money with 2 clicks on your smartphone. Take the photo of the QR code on the sign and click to send the money. Think about the implication for protest movement. Today, protesters want to get on TV so people learn about their cause. Tomorrow, they'll want to get on TV because that's how they will raise money, by literally holding up signs that let people anywhere in the world who sympathize with them send them money on the spot. Bitcoin is a financial technology dream come true for even the most hardened anti-capitalist political organizer. The coming years will be a period of great drama and excitement revolving around these new technologies. For example, some prominent economists are deeply skeptical of Bitcoin, even though Ben Bernanke, formerly Federal Reserve Chairman, recently wrote that digital currencies like Bitcoin may hold long-term promise, particularly if they promote a faster, more secure, and more efficient payment system. And in 1999, the legendary economist Milton Friedman said, "One thing that's missing but will soon be developed is a reliable e-cash, a method whereby on the internet you can transfer funds." Okay, I have to drink something first. I'm tired. Oh, from A to B without A knowing B or B knowing A. The way I can take a $20 bill and hand it over to you, and you may get that without knowing who I am. Economists who attack Bitcoin today might be correct, but I'm with Ben and Milton. Mm. Further, there's no shortage of regulatory topics and issues that will have to be addressed. Since almost no country regulatory framework for banking and payments anticipated a technology like Bitcoin. but I hope that I have given you a sense of the enormous promise of Bitcoin. Far from a mere libertarian fairy tale or a simple Silicon Valley exercise in hype. Bitcoin offers a sweeping vista of opportunity to reimagine how the financial system can and should work in the internet era, and a catalyst to reshape that system in ways that are more powerful for individual and business alike. So, okay, that's all. Thanks for listening. Give me your comments, thoughts on Bitcoin. For disclosure, I own Bitcoins. I believe in the Bitcoins. For me, the most powerful thing about Bitcoin is money from the people, and in and normally from the people in general, whatever from the people from the bottoms up instead of top to bottom, they couldn't win in the short term, but they will win in the long term, right? Because if you see now with the proliferation of technology, many individuals are more empowered by technology. Like now, you can become a YouTuber, just like me, right? You don't need anybody's permission to become a YouTuber. You can just go to YouTube and share something that you think is valuable to you or valuable to the public, right? Or is good for the public, and you can get money from there, right? Look at all the video gamers, or the dancer, the singers that go into YouTube, right? Um, and you can see it also on Facebook. You can see on Instagram, the recent craze about TikTok, right? So money empowers individual. So it's not like it used to be like you only have to work with the companies to make to get to bring something valuable to community, right? But you can contribute individually with all of this technology, and that's kind of bottoms up instead of top to bottom. So if you look, just two things I want to share with you, or probably more than two things, that if you look at the operating system of the world, who do you think has the most number market share? If you heard about Linux, then you're right. Linux is like the operating system of the world. Linux basically about 80 or 90% of the operating system of the world. Even Apple, if you use Apple, like me, I'm using MacBook, is based on Linux software. And Linux is an open source, which is basically a bottoms up approach, right? Um, I think Windows is kind of the only one that's is a kind of like a doesn't use Linux. Android operating system is based on Linux too, right? Um, so that's one example how the movement from bottom to upwind. The other example that I want to give to you is the encyclopedia of the world. Who do you think the encyclopedia of the world is? It's Wikipedia, right? Wikipedia, when it first introduced, many people criticize it because it's not accurate. You know, there's so many bad people who are like just posting like bad stuff. Like the encyclopedia, which is owned by a private company, was the dominant, right? People look up to encyclopedia, but fast forward now, the encyclopedia, the one owned by the private company, is completely like I think gone. It's gone, like bankrupt. I don't know where. And now Wikipedia is kind of like still surviving, and it's become bigger and bigger, right? And people like use Wikipedia for day to day, right? So that's two of the example that and then of course the day to day when we see people on Facebook, people on YouTube, people on Instagram, and so that it seems like many more individual are more like actualizing without a third party, without having to work with a company. Of course, if you want to work with a company, you can still do it. You can still be successful. But now there are choice. There are, so to speak, exit. You don't have. That's not the only option. So this is why I think the future of crypto, which is money from the people, money from the bottom to up, is going to be successful, as compared to just money that is top down, which is the government money that we have right now, right? So yeah, let me know. I'm very optimistic about this. I'll see you next time. Thank you for listening.